They're not revelations. They are closer to hadiths. They are much, much, much closer to hadiths than they are revelations. Because everything you see in the gospel is talking about something that Jesus did, not from the time something he saw, it's something they heard. Or something that came down through them. If you read the beginning of each one of the gospels, especially the first 3 gospels, they would tell you that they didn't originate what they saw. They would tell you what has come down through them. One of them even says, I think it's Luke said, I'm going to write down mine too. You've heard other stories, so I'm going to tell you mine. So they are not revelations. But, believe it or not, in, I'll say, my times, and Brother Bilal's time, and especially Brother Rashid's time, when we were young, a lot of the population was still in what you call an agrarian economy. People were living in the rural areas and making a living from the land. And that had not changed since biblical times, with the exception that we were using machines to do the work that Adams and men used to do. But basically, the concepts had not changed. So a lot of time in that language of the Bible, it was used in our everyday life. And so we had constant reminders that the language that we were speaking, it was our religion, it was in our everyday life. I heard many, many times when I was coming up, especially as I was approaching my teen years. And we heard a thing, you probably can remember, you say, a boy is about his father's business when he becomes 12 years old. That's something we heard, I heard a lot. As I was approaching 12 years old, I heard it from my parents. A boy is about his father's business. And he's 12 years old. We had, they used biblical language and saying, the ox in the mire, pull him out. In other words, there was something that contributed to your livelihood. It was okay to do something on the Sabbath. And it related back to the Bible. Jesus, alayhi salam, Esau, alayhi salam, he had did something that people would criticize him for doing something on the Sabbath. And he said, which one of you would not pull your ox out if it's in the mire? So a lot of the farmers would say, when the ox in the mire, pull him out. See, their language and their religion one and the same, and it was a part of their life. And there was many times, a lot of farmers would say, they would quote the Bible in their planting time. They say the east wind is neither fit for man or dog. They wouldn't plant on the east wind. They wouldn't plant on the east wind. And there's farmers like that today. They would not plant. If the wind is coming out east, they won't plant. What I'm saying, I'm trying to see how they tie their religion to actions in their life. If their religion ties to actions in their life. It was a number of things relating to planting and harvesting that there was a part that from the scriptures these people put in their life. I tell you one, it was kind of comical. You know, in the Bible, when they told the story of Adam and Shaitan, the devil came in the form of a serpent, a snake. And in that story, when Adam had failed, and when the snake had deceived Adam and Eve, there was a curse put on the snake. And also a curse was put on Adam at the time. They said that the man from then on would bruise the snake's head, and the snake would bruise man's heel. Now there's some similar there, because I don't know if a snake biting people on heel. Snake bite where he can. But for some reason they said the snake would bruise man's heel. There's something there in that language. But I do know this. Down there in the country where I was, when the people was in the time of the year when they had to go to the field and do the hoeing, they go into the tobacco field and they chop the weeds out of the tobacco. They go into the cotton fields and they chop the weeds out of the cotton. They go into the corn field and chop the weeds out of the corn. Well, they do that with chemicals nowadays. But back then, when they saw a snake in the field, the first thing, that snake, man, the snake show up in the field and those women out there chopping, it was all over for them because they went right back to the Bible. And they say, the Bible said bruise his head. You took 2 or 3 women with their hoes killing the snake. And I always, when I was a boy, I remember that. I remember in Sunday school, the Bible said bruise his head. To bruise something is to harm it and not kill it. But man, they had 3 women with chopping hoes and want nothing left of the snake. Nothing left. I mean, they chopped that scoundrel to pieces. But all I'm saying is, their language, the biblical language was in their daily lives. It was constantly going back between the Bible and their daily lives. Now, we as Muslims, we are making a mistake because for the most part, we only bring up religion in the matter of worship. When it has to do something with worship. If it ain't got something to do with worship, we hardly have any language we use that involves our daily lives. It's very rare. Now, the brother sneezed a while ago. The brother here said, Yamakallah. But, well, this hay fever season, a lot of people be sneezing. But all I'm getting at is, how much language do we use? The Islamic language that for our everyday life. There's a hadith. And it was taught in the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He told them, saying, when you cut or use a blade, he said, use a sharp blade to cut with. Use a sharp blade. Now, I'm paraphrasing. He said, use a sharp. In other words, he was telling us to be efficient in what we're doing. In other words, if I go on out here and go slaughter an animal, you don't go there with a dull knife and make the animal suffer. You got to go with a sharp knife. And it's not only telling the sharp knife. So when you use that sharp knife, what happened? I'm gonna tell you, a brother who was in halal meat business. He told me. He said, when you slaughter that animal, you start on one side, and so you cut that artery. See, the artery is on the right side. I mean, one side, and the vein is on the other side. So when he come across that knife, cut that vein or that artery, come across the throat, cut the throat, and he cut the other vein of the artery. One of the veins, I got confused right now. But when he come across that, he said, when you cut it, I think this is the artery. He said the blood is immediately cut off from going to the brain. And when you cut that animal with a sharp knife, you cut the animal, by the time you cut the throat, he said the animal is almost out. The amount of pain that animal feels is very, very little. Because when you cut this artery over here that's taking the blood to the brain, you cut it off and they say he passes out almost immediately. Because that blood is the life and it keeps it conscious. So the animal is conscious. By the time you get to the vein over here, the animal may suffer 2-3 seconds. It's over. But he was telling us to use a sharp knife. He's telling us to be efficient. But see, we take efficient in a particular action and don't want to understand it has to be efficiency in our life. In other words, some of us who have those capabilities, we should be high achievers throughout our life. High achievers. Striving for the best that a human being can be. In other words, if you run the store like this brother's running, he has to run the best stores. Shouldn't go to this store and see filth all over the place. If somebody is selling product, electronics, brother Ismail selling all these electronics, he should have the best electronics for the money. Whatever work that we are doing, we should achieve a high level. Because the prophet told us, he said, kill with a sharp knife. So we need to take this language and learn to bring this language in our everyday language as a part of the things that we do in life. Now I'm going to ask him to give a Khutbah next Friday. I'm asking him right now to give a Khutbah next Friday because he knows more about the law on transactions. Most of what we're doing now, we're not in an agrarian economy anymore. So a lot of the things we're doing is in business transactions, selling. What are some of the laws on selling? Now, he don't have to go through the whole thing to fit all the fit, but some of the basic laws on selling. When we selling a product, there are rules in Islam to tell us how to sell a product. There's rules in Islam to tell us how we could kill an animal for our consumption. But I'm talking about the things in everyday life. I'm not just talking about things that happen in Ramadan or things that happen in Jumuah or comes to Salat. When we leave Salat, what do? We go to work. Unless it's Isha. And sometimes you got a night shift, you go to work then. But what I'm getting at is, it seems like most of the language we have is about worship. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't like Louis Farrakhan. But he ain't a Muslim. He this, and he that. But the thing about Louis Farrakhan is he addresses the issues that faces the everyday life of everyday people. I'm going to say that again. He addresses the issues that affects the life of everyday people. It doesn't do a whole lot of good for me to know that Imam Ali got killed while he was in Salat. He was in Fajr praying in Salat, the clown coming in and killed him while he was in Salat. Now how does that affect my life? It's good for us to know that he was in Salat. I have a lot of respect for the man and what I learned about him. But how does it affect my everyday life? How does it affect my everyday life? There's a hadith about coming to Jumuah. We look at it from a purely spiritual point of view. There's a hadith saying that those who get to Jumuah the first hour, there's so many blessings getting there to the Masjid, but get to the Masjid the first hour. He rewarded with so much this. Then one who gets there the second hour, he got so many rewards for this and that and the other. I think it went down from a camel all the way to an egg. Well, good gracious, people, Jumuah ain't gonna last 5 hours. Jumuah is usually 1 hour, at the most. So there are those who come for Friday who will not work on Friday at all. And so they may come to Jumuah early. They may come before the Salat. They may want to come in the Dhikr. They may want to come and do some Nafila Rakahs or some Sunnah Rakahs. But the thing of it is, we can take that hadith and turn it around. In the Christian language, I don't say the Christian language, in the common language, we used to say, the early bird gets the worm. Right? If the man who gets to Jumu'ah, gets to the Masjid first, gets so many blessings, that is also telling us that we got a responsibility to meet those who get started earliest on their responsibilities will accomplish the most. If I got to go to work tomorrow, which I do have to go to work tomorrow, I can pull up in there at 9 o'clock and I will have missed a number of customers. I will miss a number of customers by pulling up at 9 o'clock. But if I pull up at 7 o'clock, I'm going to catch those customers who are getting off the first shift or going to the first shift job. Those who got to be to work early in the morning. If I get there early. You see what I'm saying? We can take the hadith and relate it to it. So you got the blessing by being there. You got the blessing by being at Jumu'ah early. You got the blessing by being at the Masjid early. You also get the blessing when you get at work early. At a reasonable time. Especially when we live in a society where a lot of people is going to work early in the morning. Most of the people are at work by 9:30. So if we're dependent on that morning traffic, those of us who depend on a certain type of personnel, a certain type of clientele, a certain type of customer, we got to catch them. We can't linger around. Not just for the going to work, a particular type of work, anything that comes along in our life. Get an education. Get an education. I'll give you one example. I was a truck driver once. I picked up a truck driver at a little book put out by the truck companies. And there's a one in the trucking problem.